Have you noticed? A lot of people do not collapse because of one major event. They collapse because of hundreds of small things every day. One traffic jam, and they lose their temper. One criticism, and they lose their composure. One unexpected change, and they panic. One small failure, and they begin doubting themselves. And then they spend their whole lives being dragged around by circumstances. But more than 2,000 years ago, there was a school of thought that pointed to a different path. A path that does not make life less difficult, but makes a person stronger in the face of difficulty. That is Stoicism. Stoicism does not turn you into stone. It turns you into someone who knows how to master himself. Not controlled by external circumstances. Not overturned by temporary emotions. Not losing inner calm just because life does not go the way you want. If you want to live more steadily, more clearly, more deeply, then this is not a video to listen to just for entertainment. These are 12 principles that can change the way you think, the way you live, and the way you walk through storms. Stoicism is one of the most practical gifts philosophy has ever left to humanity. It does not promise you an easy life. It also does not lull you to sleep with empty positive sayings. It tells you one thing directly. You cannot control everything that happens to you. But you always have the power to control how you respond. And it sounds simple. But if you can truly do that, your life will change direction. Because most human suffering does not come from the event itself. It comes from the way people interpret it, resist it, exaggerate it, or surrender to it. So the 12 lessons below are not meant for you to hear and think they sound nice. They are meant for you to use. Use them when life hits hard. Use them when your heart is unsettled. Use them when things do not go your way. Start with the first one, and it is also the most important one. 1. Focus on what you can control. This is the core of Stoicism. Epictetus said it very clearly. What matters is not what happens to you, but how you react to it. Listen carefully. The greatest difficulty for human beings is not that life is unfair. It is that they constantly burn their energy on things outside their hands. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control traffic. You cannot control what other people think, say, or do. You cannot control the past, and you cannot control when life decides to turn. But you can control your attitude. Control your words, control your actions, control how you stand in front of a problem. A person stuck in traffic has two choices. One is to explode, get irritated, curse, and burn up his own mind. The other is to accept reality, breathe deeply, and redirect attention to something more useful. The situation has not changed, but the person has. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Real strength is not found in the ability to control the world. It is found in the ability not to let the world control your inner life. The person who understands this will complain less, react less excessively, live less in a victim mindset. And from there, he truly begins to mature. 2. Do not curse the obstacle. Use it. Ordinary people see obstacles as things that get in the way. The Stoic sees obstacles as training. Marcus Aurelius wrote one powerful line, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is not a quote to hang on the wall. It is a principle for living. You got rejected? Good. Review your skills. You failed? Good. Review your method. You were betrayed, misunderstood, thrown into adversity. Painful, yes. But at the same time, that is also where your character is forced to reveal itself. An obstacle has one function that comfort can never give you. It exposes who you really are. When everything is easy, everyone thinks they are strong. Only when you hit a wall do you find out whether you truly have substance. Stoicism teaches us not to ask, "Why me?" but to ask, "What is this forcing me to learn?" One rejection may teach you to be less delusional. One heartbreak may teach you to see people more deeply. One failure may teach you to become more resilient, more clear, more real. The weak want to remove obstacles from their lives. The strong use obstacles to forge themselves. Life does not place stones in your path just to make you fall. Many times it places them there to see whether you know how to use them as steps. If you are still listening up to this point, pause for a moment and answer honestly in the comments. When you face obstacles, which state are you in more often? 1 means you get discouraged easily, and irritated easily, and often ask, why is this happening to me? 2 means you are beginning to pause, look at the problem differently, and ask yourself, what do I need to learn from this? Comment 1 or 2 so I know where you are on your journey of building inner strength. And if you enjoy content that helps you stay steadier in a life full of impact, remember to subscribe so you do not miss the next video. Live in the present, because only there are you truly alive. Human beings have a very strange habit. When they are in the present, they live in the past or the future. They sit down to eat, but their minds are worried about tomorrow. They walk beside a loved one, but their thoughts are trapped in old things. They are having a peaceful afternoon, yet they still ruin it with worries about things that have not even happened. Marcus Aurelius reminded us very clearly. Do not get stuck in the past. Do not daydream about the future. Focus your mind on the present moment. The present is the only place where you have any real power to act. The past is done. The future has not arrived. Only right now is real ground. But people often lose their lives because they are not present in them. You talk to someone, but you are not really listening. You walk outside, but you do not truly feel the wind. You drink a cup of coffee, but your mind is still busy arguing with someone in your imagination. Stoicism does not tell you to ignore the future or forget the past. It tells you not to let either one steal your ability to live in the present. When you eat, eat. When you work, work. When you listen, listen. When you love, be present. A deep life does not come from doing things that are overwhelmingly grand. It comes from being fully present in small things. Whoever cannot live in the present will never touch peace, because they are always somewhere else instead of inside their own life. 4. Self-discipline is not imprisonment, it is freedom. Many people fear discipline because they think it means losing pleasure, punishing the body, becoming rigid. But the reality is the opposite. Discipline does not take your freedom away. It saves you from becoming a slave to emotion, desire, and ease. If you are not disciplined in eating, your body will pay the price. If you are not disciplined with spending, your finances will strike back. If you are not disciplined with your time, your life will be swallowed by procrastination. If you are not disciplined with your mind, temporary emotions will pull you around like a puppet. Seneca said it clearly. True freedom comes from knowing how to govern yourself. From the outside, people often think discipline means losing comfort. But they forget that living by uncontrolled instinct is far more painful. Short-term pleasure very often leads to long-term cost. By contrast, short-term discomfort very often leads to lasting reward. Discipline is not doing extreme things. It is the ability to choose what is right instead of what is easy. Turning off Netflix to finish the work. Not buying something unnecessary just because of emotion. Getting up to exercise even when you feel lazy. Staying silent instead of arguing just to win. These are very small moments, but it is exactly in those moments that you are deciding who will rule your life. If it is not you, then it will be laziness, anger, craving, or indulgence. The self-disciplined person does not live a narrower life. He lives a clearer one. If you are still listening up to this point, answer honestly in the comments. In your life right now, what are you lacking more? 1 means discipline to do what is right even when you do not feel like it. 2 means endurance, so you do not quit halfway when things start getting hard. Comment 1 or 2, so I know where you are getting stuck on the journey of building yourself. And if you want to build real inner strength, not flashy, not noisy, just through strong and practical principles, remember to subscribe so we can walk together for the long term. 5. Emotions are real, but do not let them drive. Stoicism does not teach the suppression of emotion. That is a very common misunderstanding. Stoicism does not tell you not to feel sadness, anger, or pain. It teaches you not to let those emotions control your behavior. Pain is natural. Blind reaction is what destroys lives. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that strength lies in mastering the mind, not mastering circumstances, not mastering other people, but mastering the response within. You may feel hurt, but you do not need to say something that makes everything worse. You may feel angry, but you do not need to act like a person who has lost control. You may feel sad, but you do not need to treat sadness as your identity. A person with inner strength is not someone who feels nothing. It is someone who still feels deeply, but does not lose reason. Stoicism teaches us to create a gap between emotion and action. That gap is freedom. When anger comes, instead of firing back immediately, step back. When disappointment comes, do not rush to make conclusions about your whole life. When hurt comes, do not instantly seek revenge. Emotions are waves. You cannot stop the waves, but you can learn not to let yourself drown in them. A mature person is not someone who is always calm. It is someone who knows how to keep his hands on the wheel, even when the storm is inside. 6. Remember death so you can know how to live correctly. This is one of the deepest principles of Stoicism. Memento mori. Remember that you will die. It sounds heavy, but in truth, it is a wake-up call. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This is not a threat. It is a reminder. When you truly remember that human life is finite, you begin to see everything differently. You waste less time in pointless arguments, delay less on what must be done, become less fake in relationships, live less according to other people's expectations. You start asking more important questions. If today were the last day, would I still live like this? Would I keep dragging around a life that does not belong to me? Would I stay silent with the people I love? Would I keep giving my youth to meaningless things? Death, when seen correctly, does not make a person dark. It makes a person awake. It forces you to value the present more, to live more honestly, to love more clearly, and to stop postponing your life for some vague someday. The person who remembers life is finite will live with more weight, because he knows time is not endless, and every day that passes is a piece of life that can never be taken back. 7. Gratitude is how you pull yourself out of scarcity. The more people compare, the more they feel they lack. The more they chase what they do not have, the more they forget what they already do have. And that is a very dangerous kind of poverty. Poverty in perception. Stoicism teaches us a powerful counterweight to that mindset. Gratitude. Marcus Aurelius said, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive. To breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." It sounds simple, but if you truly reflect on it, you will see that most of the things that make up happiness are already here. A body that still functions, a loved one still beside you, a home to return to, a peaceful meal, a day in which life has not yet beaten you down. These things are often treated as ordinary until they are lost. Gratitude does not mean giving up ambition. It means that while moving forward, you do not become blind to what life has already given you. Every day, practice pausing for a moment and naming something you are grateful for. It does not need to be big, it just needs to be real. A hot cup of coffee, a kind conversation, a moment when you made it through discouragement, a beautiful sky, someone who still remembers you. The grateful person is not someone with less ambition. He is someone who does not let his heart rot from chronic scarcity. It is not happiness that makes you grateful. Very often, it is gratitude that opens the door to happiness. 8. Pursue your own excellence. Most people live in comparison. They look to the left, to the right, upward, downward, but very rarely inward. They are obsessed with being better than other people, instead of becoming more true to themselves. Stoicism does not encourage that kind of competition. It pulls you back to a harder but more honest question. What version of yourself are you becoming? Marcus Aurelius said, Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That line is sharp. It cuts straight into a common disease, talking endlessly about values, but not living them. Real excellence is not found in outward appearance. It is found in character, in choices, in how you behave when no one is watching. You may not be famous, but you live with decency. You may not be perfect, but you are improving. You may not be the best yet, but you are serious about your journey. That is what is truly worthy of pride. Excellence is not an accident. It is the result of high intention, real effort, and right choices repeated again and again. So do not ask, am I better than that person? Ask, am I better than I was yesterday? Am I living according to the standard I respect? The person who lives according to other people's eyes will be restless forever. The person who pursues inner excellence will have a very different kind of confidence, quiet, deep, and lasting. If you have listened this far, I want to ask you one very honest question. Right now, are you living more by what? One means other people's standards, always looking outward to measure your value. Two means your own standards, focusing on becoming a better version of yourself every day. Comment 1 or 2 right below. I want to know where you are standing on this journey of maturity. And if you enjoy content that helps you live more deeply, more steadily, and no longer be led around by the crowd, remember to like the video and subscribe so you do not miss the next ones. 9. Do not let your self-worth rest in the hands of the crowd. We are living in a very strange age. One post with many likes can make someone happy all day. One negative comment can keep them awake all night. Never before has it been so easy for people to hand their self-worth over to outsiders. But Stoicism warned about this long ago. Marcus Aurelius was astonished by this paradox. People love themselves more than anyone else, yet they value the opinions of others more than their own. That is a tragedy. You know who you are, but one criticism shakes you. You have value, yet you wait for others to confirm it. You live your own life, yet you measure it by the ruler of the crowd. Stoicism teaches us something deeply freeing. Other people's opinions are their business. Your character is your business. That does not mean plugging your ears to all feedback. It means not letting every outside voice have the power to define the person inside you. Ask yourself, am I living according to what I believe is right? Or am I performing to be accepted? Am I doing what has value or what gets applause most easily? Am I building a real life or just a beautiful image? When you stop asking permission from the crowd to be yourself, you become much lighter. Your value does not live in likes, praise, or approval. It lives in your integrity, your kindness, your courage, and your consistency. The person who does not need the crowd's validation is often the one life has the hardest time shaking. 10. Accept change, because resisting it only hurts you more. The only thing in life that does not change is change itself. That sounds familiar, but very few people truly know how to live with that truth. Human beings love stability. They love what is familiar. They love what they are holding on to. And because of that, every time life shifts, they panic. A relationship changes, a job changes, the body changes, friends change, times change. You change too. Stoicism does not see change as an enemy. It sees change as the natural rhythm of life. Marcus Aurelius said, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs." That line does not tell you to be passive. It tells you not to waste energy fighting what has already happened. When one door closes, the person who cannot accept change will stand there hitting it in despair. The mature person will feel the pain, but then turn and ask whether there is another path. Accepting change is not surrender. It is the first step of adaptation. Because if you do not accept that the season has changed, you will not know how to live in the new season. Ask a stronger question, not, "Why is this happening to me?" but "Now that this has happened, how will I live with it?" That is where inner strength begins. 11. Live with compassion, because no one is fighting an easy battle. Stoicism is not only about inner strength, it is also about how we treat other people. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that human beings are born to live together, to support one another, to cooperate with one another. No one exists like an island. But in daily life, we forget that easily. We see someone's behavior and react immediately, without even considering that they may be carrying some pain of their own. We see someone cold, difficult, rough, but we do not know how hard life has pressed them. Seneca taught that we should treat others kindly, even those who have hurt us, because most of them are also acting out of their own limitations, wounds, and lack of understanding. That does not mean excusing what is wrong. It means do not become cruel too quickly. Compassion does not make you weak. It gives you depth. When you know how to listen more, you judge less. When you know how to place yourself in another person's situation, you react less extremely. When you understand that everyone is carrying a private battle, you soften in the right places. A smile, a kind sentence, one moment of patience, one well-timed presence, sometimes helps someone more than we realize. The world does not lack intelligent people. It lacks people who know how to understand and care for one another in the right way. A truly strong person does not need to prove power through coldness. A strong person is someone who can keep his humanity even after life has tried to harden him. 12. Every day, look back at yourself. This is the last lesson, but it is what keeps the previous 11 lessons from turning into theory. If you do not examine yourself, it becomes very easy to think you are growing, when in truth, you are only repeating yourself. Marcus Aurelius had meditations not to publish it. He wrote it to examine himself, to correct himself, to remind himself. Epictetus advised that every day we should ask ourselves, what did I do well today? Where did I go wrong? What responsibility did I still neglect? That is not self-torture. That is self-awakening. Every day, spend a few minutes looking back. Where did I keep my calm today? Where did I let emotion defeat reason? Did I live according to my values? Was I grateful enough? Was I kind to others? Was I honest with myself? The person who never reflects will live by momentum. The person who knows how to examine himself can adjust his direction. Reflection is how you take the wheel back after each day of living. Not to prove to yourself that you are terrible, but to see where you can still become better. And one very important thing. Do this seriously, but also with compassion. Do not turn reflection into a courtroom. Turn it into a mirror. A mirror does not insult you. It simply shows you the truth. And truth, if received in the right way, is always the starting point of maturity. In the end, Stoicism does not make life lighter. It makes your shoulders stronger, so you can carry your part of life. These 12 lessons are not 12 nice-sounding sayings. They are 12 ways to rebuild the inner life. When you focus only on what you can control, you become less chaotic. When you use obstacles to grow, you complain less. When you live in the present, you stop dropping your life. When you have discipline, you become less a slave to ease. When you manage your emotions, you stop destroying yourself. When you remember life is finite, you waste less time. When you practice gratitude, you stop living in scarcity. When you pursue inner excellence, you compare less. When you stop living by the eyes of others, you become less anxious. When you accept change, you hurt less. When you live with compassion, you become less rigid. And when you reflect, you stop living blindly. Weak people always demand that life be easy. Mature people understand that life is not easy, so they must become steady. That is the difference. If there is one thing you need to remember after this video, remember this line: you do not need to control the whole world in order to have peace. You only need to learn how not to betray yourself in the middle of a chaotic world. And that is the spirit of Stoicism. Not loud, not flashy, but incredibly strong. If you stayed until the end of this video, I want to ask you one very direct question. In today's 12 Stoic lessons, what do you need most right now? 1 means better emotional control. 2 means becoming stronger in the face of adversity. 3 means living more consciously and more true to yourself every day. Comment 1, 2, or 3 right below so I know where this video touched you. And if you enjoy content that is deep, sharp, clear, and helps you stand steadier in the middle of a changing life, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and walk with me in the next videos.